Hi guys, I'm Austrian and I'm back with another video. Today I'll be showing you which generals you should buy if you are a beginner. So, to start things out, you need to choose between artillery and tanks. So, artillery is much slower, it deals more damage usually, and it's a good choice if you're a beginner, but tanks are also really good. I love tanks as they are fast, they can attack multiple enemy units in the same turn, so they're really good for blitzkrieg. And artillery is really slow, but it can give you a lot of firepower at a low price. So when you choose one or the other, then you need to look for the best generals. And there are a lot of generals in this game, over 300, so it's not easy to choose. You also need to look for their prices, because some of them are more expensive than the other. But obviously, the more expensive generals are stronger. And so you need to choose the generals that are cheap enough for you to buy, but at the same time strong enough to help you out. For the tank generals, I would look for someone like List, who costs only 1000 medals. You start with 500, you can claim a few hundred more very quickly from the HQ pass or this thing. You can really quickly get to like level 11, so that's few hundred medals. And you should be also able to do some missions even without generals. You're also getting free commanders for free. And so this should be enough for you to gather that about 1000 medals for a general, because going any lower means that these generals just will be really weak. You don't want weak generals unless you really have to buy them. And so you should go for someone like List if you like tanks. But also an interesting alternative is someone like conqueror, who is real cheap and who looks weak, but this skill is really amazing. This gives you 20 extra damage. So his damage might be higher in some cases than this guy's damage. And this guy, Rommel, he costs 3300 medals. So yeah, it's rare for him to be compared to a 550 medal general, but yeah, if you calculate the damage, then it's actually similar. If we were not in desert, because Romanov got desert fighting and he got plain fighting. So which tiles are plains? I'll show you real quick. So all of these are plains. When there are no mountains, no forests, and it's not a sea, then it's a plain. So yeah, most of the map is plain, so the generals like conqueror are actually an interesting choice. But maybe you're actually good. You don't have to buy a general for 1000 medals. You want to go for someone more expensive than that. And then obviously you can. And there are a few that are about 2000 medals. And they're really good. And the first of them is Katukov. He normally costs 1950 medals, and his starting rank is major, I think. Mayor, yeah. He is actually quite good because he is 5-star tank with 4-star mobility, and these abilities are really good. So you can buy him if you're able to gather that many medals and you're willing to wait till he appears in the rotational shop. So it's this thing right here. And now we've got Horton, but this changes like every 2 days or so. And finally you might see here Katukov, and you can buy him then. It says 50% off, but actually if you want to upgrade him to a Marshal, then it will be a similar price if you just bought someone like Rommel and upgraded him to a Marshal. So yeah, it's not 50% off in reality. And there are also some other generals like Vatutin. He's also pretty decent. He costs 1630, and his damage output is great due to this, and this. But his mobility is really low, and his survivability is also not great because the only survivability he has is supply, which is pretty terrible actually. We've got also someone like Timoshenko. I would not recommend him right now. It used to be different. Like a few years ago, you didn't have that many generals to choose from, so then going for Timoshenko was actually a pretty good choice due to his high mobility and high rank, because he starts out as a general and he costs 2200 medals or so. And the other branch of military you can go for is artillery, and there are a few generals that are actually available for you. First of them is Govorov. He is a bit expensive because he costs 1870, but he is like Vatutin of artillery because his damage output is great. But once again, his survivability and mobility are really low. And so you might want to go for someone else from the rotational shop, like Sikorsky, or someone like Wadling, whom I don't have here. I don't have him yet. I'll buy him when I will finally finish upgrading my commanders and other stuff, but for now I don't have him to show you. I probably could find him in some conquest, but I don't have time for that right now. But he's very similar to Sikorsky. He has like 3 stars in marching and a bit different skills. But they're really good. You just need to find them in the rotational shop. So you might want to buy Govorov instead if they don't show up too soon, because most of the people would not want to wait a few weeks till they can start playing the game, because they need to wait for someone to appear in the shop. But Govorov is also a really good choice, as his damage is just amazing. And if you go for artillery, then you most probably want to go for the damage and not for HP and not for mobility. Lastly, I'll show some other cheaper alternatives like Badogila, who is fine. He costs 1200 medals. His damage is pretty decent. And his rank is really high. M General is pretty good for a 1200 medal general. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, there is someone like Vex, but he isn't much cheaper than Bodogila, and he is much weaker. So these are the generals I would recommend you to buy if you are a beginner. And there are also some other generals like for infantry and for navy and for air force, but I would not recommend you to buy them now, because you get a free general from the 7-day login reward, who is a navy, air force and infantry general at the same time, and he's pretty strong, so you don't need to buy any general from these branches. You just don't need them also as much as artillery and tanks. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So see you next